Well, that's a horrible camera, isn't it? I don't know what's wrong with my camera. You like that? Makes you want to have an epileptic seizure, doesn't it? So what's the plan? When our information is of more value than our very lives, certainly there couldn't be anything nefarious about that, right? When lithium is more important than our life's blood, certainly couldn't be anything nefarious about that. I just shared something on my community page. I'm going to get rid of the epileptic trigger. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. I don't have a lot of bells and whistles. I got a 2007 computer that literally runs Windows Vista that I record my music on, guys. So, you can just cut me a break. And yeah, I know I got a lot of breath noises. I'm chronically ill. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, lithium is more important than lifeblood. It's almost like the AI Antichrist wants to get out of something virtual and get into something more like a meat suit, huh? A little battery powered. You think all these lithium powered batteries are to power your? Again, I feel like a broken record. Highly unsustainable Barbie mobiles, because like your phone. When it's half full and you stick it back on the charger, if you get in the habit of that, before long, you'll have half of the battery that's usable. And nobody's going to let their car run down to empty. So they're going to create depletion layers, and you're going to get about the same lifespan out of these damn batteries that you are your cell phone battery, depending on your usage habits, because you're not very intelligent and you don't know a lot about batteries. But the best thing to do with your devices is run them all the way down before you put them on the charger. Otherwise, you're just shortening the life of it. You understand? And not people are going to run around with a half charged or a quarter charged tank or phone. You see? Because this all goes back into that crazy stuff God's been telling me, for a guy who worked, ready for this, 33 years. 33 years. Started out in Department of Defense, working on FLIRs, went in the semiconductor industry, worked in communications, worked in robotics, worked in all kinds of automation. Let me tell you something. Yes, you don't have to pay a robot vacation time, sick time, and they don't have to take breaks and all that good stuff. But you know that they require an immense amount of maintenance. Even things as simple as layer packers that, put things in a box and then, stack up small products. They drift immensely. Okay. And I'm sorry, this technology is not going to. The first robot I worked on was on a high current a Nova 20A high current implanter. Had a Puma robot arm in the end of it, and we used to just play with it. We'd make it do stupid stuff when it was handling the wafers in the end station, just for a show and for effect. In those days, you just limp it and teach it. You didn't have to type in the param. Anyway, I know I'm getting in the weeds for you guys, but let me tell you something. They're an albatross, and they, again, get ahead should I jump ahead? I'm going to jump ahead. The end goal is obviously to get us embroiled in a war with China, and it's because of Taiwan. And why is it because of Taiwan? Because we shipped all our semiconductor interest over there when I left the semiconductor industry. Everybody. I could have got a job when I left, and there's headhunters to this day that would still look for people that can do my kind of work. And what is that, Ray? Well, that's working on particle accelerators. And how do you go from vacuum tube technology to solid state overnight? That's a quantum leap. A quantum leap in reverse engineered demonic alien technology that landed at Roswell. That's what that is. Like I said, it's hard to believe when I was a kid, beam me up, Scotty. And now you got your communicator. I remember watching a crappy Class B movie called Cherry 2000. We rented on beta or something when we were teenagers. Watched it in the den or whatever. It's a crappy old movie, and the opening scene, he's making out with this little robot, and the dishwasher overflows and she gets wet and and she shorts out. And then pretty much the rest of the movie's spent with him and Melanie Griffin. You remember her trying to find another robot he can put the chip in, and then he, thank God, falls in love with a real woman, Melanie Griffith. But I digress. The point is, I've seen that come to pass in my real life. And they first started, it's been like 2 or 3 years ago, they started marketing them to women first. They were $12,000 little men with Peters. And then they started marketing to men. And some of them aren't just a complete robot, they're just the torso part. It's sick. It's sick. I'm going to go one step further, see if I can get this taken down and get another strike. You guys don't realize that up in Canada, and I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm not sure exactly where, but I thought it was in Montreal, Quebec area. They have actually made robots of children, so these sickos can have their way with them. Because I guess in their skewed line of thinking that if they go in there and abuse a child robot, that they won't do that to a kid. No, actually, you're just what's going to happen when the robot doesn't do it for them anymore? Listen, I've seen these monsters. You can cut off their private parts. They will pick up a screwdriver and do something to you with it. Do you understand that? Mm-hmm. And as California passed the human composting law, I can think of a lot of people that would probably serve our soil better than they would our. Sorry. Throughout biblical history, there's been one way to deal with predators and pestilence, and it's not pleasant. Anyway, let's go back to the semiconductor market. The reason that we're going to get involved in this mess is because, again, they will more vehemently defend the borders of Taiwan than your own southern border, as we had our own Normandy landing to the tune of 30 million. I need to light this again. Now, it's because it was like NAFTA. Remember NAFTA, that huge sucking sound that drew all the business out of America? It was kind of the same thing with the semiconductor industry because of EPA standards and how facilities like SGS Thompson, Intel, Dallas Semiconductor, and these are just in the Dallas area, of course, Texas Instruments, they all had to scrub their air to the point where, you understand? And this became the same thing out in South Lake Tahoe area. There's a lot of manufacturing out there. Silicon Valley, the Silicon Vics in the valley. All semiconductor manufacturing because of the EPA standards. And by the way, yeah, we make everything strict here in the United States because 5 days later, our air is going over Europe. Meanwhile, China and India, they just pump all kinds of contaminants up in the air, and 5 to 7 days later, it's sitting over the top of us. That's really returning in kind, isn't it? We have over 600 years of coal, and there is clean coal technology, and we have plenty of fuel reserves. And Joe Biden, why'd you give away our strategic oil reserves to China? Some of the lightest, sweetest crude that hardly needed refinement. Now we got a bunch of toxic sludge that's going to clog up our refineries. We only had 5 refineries to begin with. Then we had the one in Texas that had the accident. And then we just had one in Louisiana. And then we got Gavin Newsom trying to close down the one in California. But back to where we were. The overall plan is what it's always been. It's the upper crust. And Ray McGovern said it today, what his mother used to say about the upper crust. She said, Ray McGovern's mom used to say that the upper crust is just a bunch of crumbs held together with a lot of dough. They want to gentrify this planet. And any of you that might make it through the mess that they're orchestrating, you can eat the bugs. Stop jamming up my thing. Every time you go to say anything of any significance, I mean, they're monitoring everything, including my little pea brain, who ain't even, I've been on 9 minutes. I have nobody watching. Maybe 8 people in total will view this, but you feel the need to scramble at YouTube. You also have a high definition picture of my gold star license that you said you couldn't verify my identity and that I don't freaking exist. As far as I'm concerned, you don't exist. Not in God's eyes. You're an abhorrent to him. Because you're not about truth, you're not about justice, and you let all these sick, disgusting reprobates have a voice on here, but then you put me in a timeout. right before the horrendous events happened to Charlie. It's almost like you knew they were going to happen. And there's a history of it. You did it on Butler, just recent memory, and the Francis Scott Key Bridge. So I'll start looking for a strike when I know that you're fixing to, whoever the powers that be are, is fixing to roll out, another orchestrated kick in the teeth on America. So yeah, I really believe, based on what I just shared from Bear Independent, which is DARPA actually trying to pursue a contract for IFACs, and being, as the government is, really deep in paperwork, explaining the exact objectives and what they're looking forward to. And I doubt that his organization, unless he really ramps up, could probably handle that demand. Nonetheless, the point is, it's about the intel, and they may have given it to him purposely to use him as a conduit to get it out. Regardless, DARPA is looking for IFACs for, more than likely, some stuff going on over there in that part of the world. I give two craps about Taiwan or the Philippines. The reason that we are so vested in it is because the United States and all our large corporatocracies, which, by the way, Texas Instruments is the one that founded all the processes involved in making semiconductors, and everybody else has robbed them. The only thing that keeps them afloat are the few loyalties that get paid into them in their government contracts. But I digress. They want to. It's the same thing. Why is Dallas getting? Why is this Stargate AI thing getting its own power grid? I've been trying to say for a long time, the Utah data center will never go without power, but I guarantee you it consumes as much power as a small blue city, and water. But they're telling you to get an energy efficient ceiling fan. What the hell could be more energy efficient than a ceiling fan? No matter what generation, it's an AC motor. The thing is everything is cleverly made now to end up in the landfill. It's cleverly designed to fail just outside of its warranty window. And in my lifespan, I can attest that me and my wife, our first washer and dryer, the dryer went out 15 years. I had that washer for 30 years. Even when we get a new set, it still was working. I couldn't bring myself to get rid of it. I'd put it out in the shed. And every time the washer would go tits up again, I'd just go pull it out. Sorry for that. I was a repairman. That's how we talk about things, and things that make sense and measure up square. They're dead balls on, as most shit that I say is. So stop walking all over my podcast, faggots. The reason, see, this is where the devil gets me every time with his temperance, where he's going to get you too. The reason we are interceding in these matters is because we want to provide the environment. We know the Antichrist is artificial intelligence. We know the beast is coming. And as far as I can see, just like, Benjamin Netanyahu and Volodymyr Zelensky are courting the devil for MVP, so are the many different factions of this world courting to be where the birthplace or the genesis of this monster comes from. And Trump wants to bring, we need to lead the charge ahead of AI. Okay. Just like we need to charge ahead in mRNA and get your customs. And I think it's so funny too, is that how he shopped this on day 3 of his presidency. You want to talk about feeling hoodwinked? America's on to you, Trump. We're about had enough. You know what? It's scary. It's like, you know what Biden's insurance policy was? Kamala. You know what yours is? It's JD the Joker, the Marine that's only shot pictures, whose best friend is Peter Thiel, who is literally doing the whole Palestinian genocide. And they're doing the same stuff here. And if you don't think this Palantirian Thielism is coming to our shores, you got problems. Because it's going on right now. And like I said, Hugo Boss will not be making the uniforms for the Reich this time. It's going to be Gucci. The brown shirts will have a Gucci print. You see them celebrate death and violence. No, these are Marxists. These are worse than Marx. This is Lenin. These are Trotskyites. The The reason we're going to get involved in a conflict over there in Southeast Asia is because of semiconductors, because of the stuff that's of the devil, all this technology. Isn't that funny? Kind of like how Ukraine outlawed Christianity, but here we are, a Christian, and well, like we consider ourselves an evangelical Christian country, supporting a country that outlawed Christianity and throwing cash at these death junkies to mainline, right? So they can kill other Orthodox Christians. Can you even rationalize that? Or are you mostly like those demonic people that are celebrating the death of a man that you don't have to agree with? Because you know what? Even these most damaged monsters like this Bob Villain, I never wish that upon him. I wish him salvation. I don't want his soul to burn in eternal hellfire. Neither does Jesus Christ. That's why he hadn't come back. Because every day that he holds off, you fools get a chance to turn your asses around and find the narrow path, because you're on the wide path to destruction, and we're not going to get dragged into it with you. American public's not falling for this crap anymore. But I tell you what, we are getting sick of it, and we're sick of the fact that we don't get a voice. We don't, again, I step out and anybody does. They condemn this type of stuff. That's canceled. That's hate speech, because words are violence, but violence is condoned and celebrated. It's next level hypocrisy. And this is why the Smith-Munt Modernization Act of 2013 that went into effect in 2014 basically just needs to become unconstitutional again, as it was the first time, because who's brainwashing all these people? But your Miss Dismal, Mockingbird, prostitutes. The biggest threat to this country by far. And who controls the press? And who controls Hollywood? And who controls the halls of our Congress? And isn't it funny that the day after Charlie gets waxed, all of a sudden all the Epstein shit gets locked away? We're not blind. It's clear to me you want a revolution in this country. You want not only a revolution, but you want anarchy, and you want a global war. It's clear that the powers that be, that upper crust, the crumbs with the dough that holds them together, wants to gentrify this planet. But first, they got to get us pesky individuals out of the way. But let me tell you how it works. When you step in a pile of fire ants and they swarm, you don't have a snowball's chance in hell. They'll drop a cow. And that's what you're about to do. And when the pitchforks and torches come showing up on your doorstep to storm the castle, I hope they eat your rare ass first. Because you've been trying to make us all eat the bugs for a very long time. You've not only robbed the world of its glory, you've robbed yourself of its glory, and you rob everybody else in the bride of Christ in the hands and feet of their glory. You gatekeepers. Who the hell you think? You know who keeps the gates? It ain't you. Because we are here but a season. We're like that field of grass. We're like that flower. We're going to fade. You can't own anything in this world. You guys think you own something with your old money, passing it on to generation with your family tree that looks like a friggin' toothpick? Oh, very well then. Oh, whatever. Kiss my ass. You're pathetic. You have been found lacking in God's eyes. And no, yeah, you're right. I'm not. You're not a preacher. You're right. I'm not. And I'm not pious either. Obviously, I'm a sinful man, because you can hear how I'm talking. But you are truly detestable. And again, I'm going to reinforce, how do you think you're going to get a Nobel Peace Prize, Trump, when you're complicit, compliant, and complacent in the starvation of Palestinian children? Tell me how that works. Do you guys think that Christ Jesus cares not for Palestinian, Yemeni, Iranian, or Syrian children? You think that just doesn't matter? You don't think there's a millstone attached to that? That was attached to just causing them to sin, not murdering them, not trafficking them, not abusing them, not starving them. Y'all ain't got a clue. Yeah, you're going to wish you were never born. And he's coming. And Benzie knows that. Because Benzion Milikowski, his little baby BB, the chastised asshole that wants to bring about the second coming of Christ, just the same way that, I don't know, John Wayne Gacy and Son of Sam did. You sick bastard. There's a special place in hell for you. Be assured. And I guess you'll just have to kill all of our asses. Okay? I guess, BB, you just got to kill us all now. And now, and me thinks you protest too much. Also, me thinks you protest too much. Also, Benji. Oh, I just saw y'all come in. I can feel your evil upon me. What would you like to say to me? Hop in my chat room, devil. Because the Bible tells us we will know what to say when we are above the Pharisees that think they are judge over us. I can't sustain anything. We don't have proof of anything. You know what we do have proof of? We got a long history. As the Bible tells us, people are judged by their fruits and their Fruit Loops. Toxic masculinity. Seems like we could use more of it. Seems like some men need to sprout some balls around this country. Seems like you need to start talking out to people. Because the way I see this is a fire. And we're fighting wildfires all over this country, have been for a while, and up in Canada purposefully. I don't want to get started on that. But you either stomp it out and you make a fire line quick, or it gets out of hand, doesn't it? But see, that's the funny thing, is that all these people can go around giving off sparks in a powder keg, but anybody, the pundit or somebody that tries to turn it into humor or something witty to try to make people see the frailty of their thinking, oh, that's hate. That's hateful. Again, I said it before. You're the same class of people told you to put a mask on and take a deadly shot to save grandma because life was valued so much. And now you're celebrating the assassination of someone who wasn't even a political appointee. Just a cold-blooded murder of a man who's trying to make the world a better place and save your children that you pay to get indoctrinated in these diploma mills. And that's what they are. The only person that's been doing anything for the job market and education around here is Mike Rowe, because you need to get a trade. I've worked with engineers my whole life. Let me tell you something. An engineer sits behind a desk and they design something. They send out an ECN. They send out engineering change notices all the time because they make so many mistakes in their design and they never integrate anything they design. So in other words, they're like a bunch of engineers are like a bunch of guys who look at a bunch of Legos and then they'll give you instructions on how to make that into something. They can't do it themselves. Those that do, and those that don't teach and become engineers. Sorry. My whole life, I've been a troubleshooter. It's from being observant. You know how you want the thing to work, and you know how it's behaving. And you try to identify. And you start in the middle, work your way out, start one end, depending on where the problem is. But we shotgun everything, and we put a Band-Aid on everything, and we never identify the problem, and we sure as hell aren't proactive. We have reactive maintenance in this country, President Trump. And you don't even do reactive maintenance because you got no parts on hand. You got no qualified personnel. And all you're doing is flinging shit like a monkey. Everything that I've seen just is going to exacerbate the problem. And maybe that's what's necessary. Maybe it is. Maybe that's the Trump. Maybe that's what God intended in you. Because you do bring out the best in some people, but by far you bring out the worst in so many more. And maybe we all needed to see that, or maybe we didn't need that catalyst. Nonetheless, I'll go back to what I was saying. Nobody wants JD. Nobody wants, I thought JD had some principles, but again, the more he speaks on some of these things, I don't know, man. He seems like just the rest of you. I really thought that Cash and Bongino, the Lord's taught me time and time again over my life not to have faith in men, and he really drove that home this election. So I guess I should have voted for that Vermin Supreme guy with the rubber boot on his head. But be assured, we will more vehemently protect and put our asses on the line for the diversified semiconductor interest in Taiwan and the Philippines, because that is the bed of the beast. Without the technology, you don't have the beast. Why is it nothing that's being done right now, not a damn thing that's being done right now, is green? Because green is making products that are sustainable and that last a lifetime, like that washer and dryer that me and my wife got when we first got married, or how a person used to own a car as long as I have, 32 years. And pretty soon they want to pass legislation. You won't be able to insure a vehicle that's over 25 years of age, let alone be able to get parts for it. Bottom line, it's what they've said. Cut down communication. You'll be able to can't move. No mobility, no communication. No, they're just conquering us little by little. But as I've been saying since, and by the way, I'll probably get taken down for this. But yes, I had to, back during the Obama administration, I had to, because you worked with the public because of the avian bird flu that was going around. Anybody that worked, and I wasn't talking about just first responders, people that worked in hospitality, anything where you worked with the public, you had to go get the avian bird flu shot during the Obama administration. 4 years later, would you like to know that about 80% of the people that I personally knew who got that shot got autoimmune? And that's what killed my liver, and that's why they kill it. It's call it the silent killer, because in 4 years' time, unbeknownst to me, it killed my liver. My body weaponized its own immune system against my internal organs. But I can't speak out against this stuff. Yeah. You can call me patient zero. And this is a man that's had a lot of near death experiences, and I've talked about him in videos, way too many. It's not organic, but anyway. So, yes, as someone whose family has been impacted by suicide recently, I'll tell you what a sage veteran friend of mine told me. Don't kill yourself. The devil's been trying to kill you his whole life. Your whole life. Why would you want to do his job for him? Your temple is your temple. And the problem is, it's not just what you feed into your temple. And yes, I know this is a toxin. It's what you feed through here, too. It's everything that you ingest into your temple. And boy, don't we ingest some toxic stuff. Don't we even breathe in some bad stuff from that air column. And I talked about that before, too, guys. Consider this: the odd behavior patterns, the sleeplessness, the restlessness and pain. There's a whole host of things I believe that are causing all the symptoms that people are experiencing right now is because the earth's frequency is humming at about what your wall socket is. And normally it hums at about 6 hertz. And yeah, I screwed up that video the other day because I'll go ahead and talk about it. They believe that if they can induce 3 hertz into a human at a large enough, and that's extremely low frequency. It's almost flatline. There's no sine. It's like a flat wave almost. You know what I'm saying? 3 hertz. It's not much of a sinusoidal waveform. But if they can somehow induce that with enough amplitude into a person, do you know what it causes? Heart failure. If the earth resonates at 6, if we affect the earth enough that it doesn't climb to 40 or 60 hertz like it is now, what if it drops to the other range and we just all drop dead and the earth says, you know what, I'm just going to take it down to about 3 hertz and I'm going to get this flea off my back. But anyway, I digress. The earth wants to sing at 6 hertz. And like I said, I've referred to this in on helicopter technology. And yes, people like L. Todd Wood, an actual Pavlo pilot, could probably tell you when you're coming up to prop speed, they zip past that very low speed really quick because, like I said, it's like a tuning fork. It'll excite and just start vibrating that whole airframe to bits. But anyway, um, above this core on the surface is this labyrinth, this blanket of wires and cables and with 50 and 60 hertz traveling through it. And above that still, UHF, VHF, AM, FM, and then of course all the new stuff, the 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, 25 to 100 gigahertz. I've mentioned it before. DARPA's 80 active denial system, operating frequency of 95 megahertz. So why is it the 5G frequency has a weaponized DARPA system inside of my cell phone carrier frequency? It's odd, isn't it? Anyway, and there's many more frequencies. And you can look at the whole frequency chart and spectrum, and everything in purple is owned by the government, and you don't get to walk all over it. But anyway, above that, still, you have a daisy chain link array of Starlink satellites. And in between that, you have a thick conductive soup of nanoparticulates that they spray over our head every day. So, you want to fight a war on drugs, huh? How about the little white lines in the sky? I got to snort every day. How about that? The little chingamaderas that come out on the end of the wings, and they shoot the stuff in there, and it makes the little white lines. I don't like the clouds, no. I don't like to be crop dusted like a bug. F. How about you start your war on drugs with the lines in the sky? Ass clown. You don't have a problem with an Aldous Huxley Soma dispensary on every freaking corner of America now, do you? How long have I been rambling? 29 minutes? How long do you think I can just go ahead and purge? How often do you think my screen can lock up? I have, what is it, 58? I have the highest high-speed internet there is. You wouldn't believe the trouble that I have. It's so strange. You pay for nothing but the best, but you're throttled. Why is that? As a matter of fact, I've been grandfathered in with unlimited. And you know what they do now? They let you know you're reaching a threshold and they're going to throttle you. Like, sorry, but I've been grandfathered in for 20 years with unlimited. You don't get to throttle me after a certain point of data, criminals. And the worst thing is, we don't have much alternative. Yeah, we got to use all these people that are literally our enemies. So back to what I was saying, your information is more important than you. Lithium's more important than your blood. It kind of lets you know where the fifth industrial revolution's going. It kind of lets you know what the Bible says. Men will wish for death in those times, but it will not come. Go ahead and get you a Neuralink. And if you think that all the CMOS devices that aren't shielded by a Faraday cage are susceptible to electrostatic sensitive stuff, imagine if you've got that Neuralink in your head and we get like a Carrington event or an EMP. Lights out for you, dummy. Come on, man. What is wrong with you people? You were fearfully and wonderfully made. And that newest iPhone, what is it at? 17? I don't know what the number of iPhone generation is now. Is it 17 maybe? I don't know. Still ain't got as many megapixels as the eyeball God gave you, fools. And as Daddy always said, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Bye.